Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Shaniqua, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump straight into it. What pulled you into the fantastic yet troublesome world of consulting and community-focused work?
I'm gonna answer the last part of it first. I've always been in the realm of community-focused work. I've always worked with nonprofits. I've always worked with giving back, volunteering. That's my entire professional career, as well as even my personal life has always been tied to giving back and working within the community. So from a professional standpoint, the fact that I've always worked with nonprofits and workforce development and higher education, once I left my last job, I actually had the intent to go into full-time ministry and decided to write grants just to sustain me. And from that, Rischer Consulting was formed. And it just has been a journey for the past 10, going on 11 years. So that's why I got started and why I'm here.
What does it mean for you to do that personally?
So because my faith is really intertwined with how I run my business, as far as me desiring to make a greater impact and to serve others. I think that that's why it's so important to me. And I use this I guess you could say it, this analogy when I'm describing my work, is that I tell people that I can't feed 5,000 people, but I've fed over 100,000 people at this point, through the past few years with the grants that I've written from my clients and the services that we've been able to provide. We've provided job placement, workforce development and training for clients. We've provided housing assistance and food and mental health counseling. And so all of these different pockets of things that I'm able to do through nonprofit consulting, I'm not necessarily direct to client as far as me directly touching each of those individuals, but I am a part of the conduit and the tool that is used to be able to serve those individuals. And so that's why it's so important to me. I think it really mirrors me. It really mirrors my desire to serve other people. And I've been able to do that.
I like that. Mission driven.
Mission driven.
What's the number one problem that you would say you solve today? So like all this said, what do you help people achieve exactly with your work?
I think the biggest thing so when I first started my consulting firm, because I had worked in philanthropy and working with nonprofits, I really saw that there was a gap, especially for those smaller mom and pop nonprofits that were really grassroots, boots on the ground, doing the work in communities, but they really didn't have access to funding and they didn't have access to the resources that larger nonprofit entities had access to. And so I think I've actually really filled a great gap in helping some of those small to medium-sized nonprofits grow larger, helping them understand the landscape of philanthropy, of how their operation should be set up, what they should be doing in order for them to be successful when it comes to receiving grants in the philanthropy, working within philanthropy. And so I think that that's a gap that I've really helped fill. I still do spend a considerable amount of time just kind of coaching and advising pro bono smaller nonprofit leaders and saying, okay, and if you want to move into getting grant dollars and being in this particular space, these are some of the things that you need to do. You need to make sure that your financials in order. What are you doing to track your impact when it comes to data and metrics and evaluation? Who are your target audience? What is your mission? How are you actually tying your mission into your programmatic services? And so that has been a niche and an area that I truly believe that I won't say solved, but I've stepped into to be able to help those smaller and mid-sized nonprofits access funding, because now they understand how to play the quote unquote philanthropy game. They understand what they need to do in order to position themselves best. And so that's something that I'm really proud of through my conversation with executive directors and nonprofit leaders, because many of them don't understand. They just know, hey, we want to serve people, we want to help people, and they don't understand the nuances that go within doing that.
Amen to that. Can you give us a bit more details around who is it that you help? Like, what company do you work with? What organizations do you work with? Who ends up making the decision of working with you? Like, how do you navigate all this?
The person who is generally always the executive director that is driving retaining my services at nonprofits. The executive director, chief executive officer, president of the nonprofit, whatever their title is, it's generally that person that's driving my services and retaining my services, or our services, my firm services. I think they recognize that there is a gap in their development and fundraising, that they need additional help, and they even may have staff that's there on site, or they may want to expand the number of grants or their fundraising plan or strategic approach to fundraising. And so those are generally the people who are securing my services. My ideal client actually is probably a nonprofit with a budget over $3 million. So that's why I try to spend a lot of time speaking with directors or nonprofit leads that have smaller budgets, especially even smaller than $1 million. But as far as a client of Rischer Consulting, $3 million and above is our sweet spot for organizations that are assisting our services. Generally, I find that they have some of those foundational things in place when it comes to grants and what they're looking for, but also they're open enough to some of the feedback that I may provide from a programmatic standpoint and input when it comes to their services. Because of my background, I've worked as a federal grant reviewer with the Department of Education and Department of Labor. I've worked as a workforce grant manager within higher education. I've worked in K through 12 education as a community development officer. So because I held all of those titles before starting my firm, that has given me a lens where I've been able to see a lot of different aspects of philanthropy, but also a lot of different aspects of nonprofits in impact-driven work. And so with that, I look for organizations and CEOs or executive directors that have a similar mindset when it comes to impact-driven work and what they're looking to do and how they're looking to progress.
That would make sense. At the end of the day, those are the ones who drive the decision of improving how they do things and where you typically come in to help them out.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get the attention of those executive directors, CEOs, C-suites, whatever the title of the head of the organization is? How do you get into the room with those people? I'm not talking about sales just yet, but more like brand awareness, marketing, getting the attention and getting the leads through the door.
So I'm probably going to say something that applies to both sales and your question. I do have social media where I tell about my services, but all of my clients have been referral. I think I may have had only one client that hasn't been a referral driven. So meaning that current clients, CEOs, executive directors that I work with, they do a handoff and say, "Hey, we have had this experience with this firm, and they handle our grants." I'm sure on the backside of that, those other firms that they are working with may be saying, "How did you all get this grant? How did you get this? And we've been applying for this." And then I'm pretty sure the conversation then leads to our services. But you know how they say in marriage, and I'm not married, but like a happy, what is it? Happy wife, happy life, or something like that. Happy
So
client
they say.
referrals. Like it's something that's just been intuitive since the beginning of my work. And I'm thankful for that, because it has allowed me to serve clients all over the United States. with grants, and from beyond the United States, I actually do get a lot of people asking me for insight of how do you do this? How can we find grants, or how can we work with NGOs and all of those things? But it really is word of mouth. And so from a lead generation standpoint, once they have done a referral or someone has done a referral to me, then I do an onboarding consultation call just to be able to determine what exactly their needs are and how we may be able to best serve them. Once I get that information, I put together a proposal and then I send it to them. And then at that point, the ball is in their court. I'm not really a person to chase after clients. So I do follow up and ensure that, hey, if you have any questions, let us know. If you want to move forward, then here's the contract, and we can move forward. But I don't really chase clients. But at the same time, I don't close the door for a client or a potential client coming back to me in the future, because I've had that before. I've met with people over a year ago and they come back to me and say, I met with you last year. I don't know if you remember me, but we're ready now. And so I think that's a great thing. And so that's kind of how lead generation works for me in the past. Has been, again, is primarily referrals, but then once that handoff is made, then it's me having a conversation with them and determining what their needs are.
I like that. So, I mean, as we often talk on the show, I see referral as a non-negotiable. I mean, this is the byproduct of doing a good work.
Mhm.
And I think as a consultant or even a B2B coach, if you're not getting referrals, you probably need to fix the product before you even think about getting more clients. So yeah, I think this is a sign of like doing an amazing work. So that's great. Talk to me about social media. You mentioned that you were doing some social media as well. How do you build that brand and, maybe oil the whole referral system thanks to social media? How do you manage that?
I have a social media content creator manager. So
Okay.
that has been, I actually just hired my third person, maybe fourth, but my first one was a friend. She just kind of helped me get started. It wasn't anything she charged me for. It was just, hey, let's do this. And then after a couple of months, she was like, I can't do this. I need you to hire someone. So I just hired so technically my third social media and content manager, and just really making sure, because I consume a lot of information because of the breadth of the type of applications and services that we write grants for. I consume a lot of information. And so with that, when it comes to social media, I just make sure that my social media manager knows what my thought process is, why I think something is relevant, making sure that they're posting educational and informative social media posts, letting them know the wins of Rischer Consulting, how we're winning, what grants we've written for clients and how they've been awarded, or what has been awarded. And then also just, highlighting the services that Rischer Consulting offers. And so I do have a person that manages all of that, because that is not my forte. That does the graphic design and the social media posts across LinkedIn and Rischer Consulting on YouTube and the various channels.
Fair enough. And so I appreciate the surrounding yourself with people who know better for the things that, that
Okay.
is not your forte, so that you can focus on the very thing that makes you unique and provides high value. The reason I'm kind of digging a little bit deeper into
Mhm.
this, Shaniqua, is I think this would be super valuable for B2B coaches and consultants listening to us who are thinking about getting into the social media game, LinkedIn, but not only Instagram, TikTok. I mean, we've seen people getting some pretty serious results with those platforms.
Mhm.
How do you go about recruiting someone who helps you with something that not that you don't have any clue of, but more that you're not really versed into? How do you manage finding the right person at the same time managing the right expectations, making sure they deliver? And like, how do you manage on a day-to-day to make sure that they do reflect what you want to do with your brand on a day-to-day basis?
So that's an excellent question. I have in the I interview everyone that I've ever had in that particular role. As a part of that, it's been a learning experience for both parties each time I onboard someone new. But I may not know social media myself, but I know what has engaged me with social media. So I think that's the first thing, knowing what I want to see reflected in my own social media platform, how I want Rischer Consulting as well as myself to be shown as a subject matter expert within this particular space. So those were things that I automatically know, hey, this is how I want to be perceived. And so that's one of the things that I said from a minimum expectation standpoint. When I'm interviewing, I do reference checks. I do look at their past social media account management creations for past clients, looking to see what they've done, the metrics of growth for their past clients, all of that information. I think it's just a matter of doing due diligence when you hire anyone for any particular position, knowing what that position entails, knowing what the metrics and outcomes of that position is, and then applying it to what you want to be able to see. So that was my approach when it came to hiring someone for the position. When it comes to my expectations, I am a very clear and direct person. So I ensure that people understand what my expectations are, the level and the quality of work that I do desire, as well as the level of engagement, the number of posts to be made. I'm very clear in laying all of that out in the beginning, and really gauging if this is something that person can do or not. I definitely give space that there's a learning curve to learning me as well as learning the business. Working with grants in nonprofit and philanthropy, and even businesses when it comes to grants and supporting and capacity building. Those are very niche things. And so I have to give grace to individuals when they're coming, because if they're doing something with like a service product that's like healthcare or something, and then coming into my lane, then I want to make sure that I'm helping them understand the nuances of the industry. So there is not only a learning curve for them, but it's a part of me making sure that I am informing them and teaching them. I am really key on doing that. And then from a workflow standpoint, I believe in trusting the people that I've hired. I try not to micromanage. In the very beginning, I will micromanage, but then as the training wheels fall off, then I kind of take a step back and I tell people, I'm going to trust you with this. And then, but if I have to step in, then that's a different conversation, because if I'm stepping in, that means I'm addressing an area of concern. No, not like that, but it might come off like that. But I'm addressing an area of concern. And so for the most part, it's worked out really good. I have really good relationships with my entire team and the contractors that work with me. And they anticipate me. I always tell people, even my executive assistant, when I tell people this from a coaching lens, my sister-in-law, she actually is a consultant that works with me, and so she does the executive coaching. And I heard her say this to one of our coaching clients years ago, and it stuck with me because I was like, I need to be able to convey that to the people that work with me or work for me. And she was like, from a management standpoint, you have to be able to manage up and manage down. And so for the contractors and employees and the staff from whomever may be working with me, I'm very clear and say, hey, you have to be able to manage up when working with me. Anticipate, hey, this is how she may respond. This is maybe what she needs, so that you don't have to then be reactive with me, then be more so proactive. And so because that's my approach, I think I've been really successful with that, and helping my team to understand what makes us all thrive.
I like that. What is it that Harvey Specter says when Mike tells them that he's not fair? He's tough, but fair.
Yes.
And I think in management, that's also important. Thanks a lot for sharing this, Shaniqua. I think this is like ultra valuable. And when people get into, obviously, management, right? When you run a business, if you want to grow, again, I know that's not the case of everybody, but if you want to grow, you're going to have to manage some people at some point, because you can probably do better than anybody at your task, but you cannot do better than everybody. And so you need to hire some people at some point.
Indeed.
I like that. Tell me, so back to the marketing and sales, and I know we talked a lot about referrals, social media. Sales happen as a consequence of referrals. Talk to me, though, how you move from an introduction, a referral, like, hey, I've worked with Shaniqua to, secure this grant. I'll let you to take it from there if relevant, typically. How do you move from that to a conversation, a sales conversation, a letter of engagement, an SOW? Like, what does sales motion look like for you guys at your firm?
I do have a CRM system, so a customer relations management system. And so once someone is engaged with us and fills out the initial form, then the system puts them in there, and there's a workflow that follows as far as follow-up emails, as far as contracts and scopes of services that are put together. So that CRM system makes sure that we hit every point within our I guess you could say our sales process. And so making sure that contact is made, follow-up emails are made. And so those workflows help us with the mechanics of moving forward and booking clients. So it's some of those repetitive actions that we would do within our work within our system has been built into a workflow that does it automatically for it. So making sure that we're moving with an autonomous standpoint. And so that has been helpful as well. I think the specifics of what you were asking for, what I just mentioned was, again, after the initial conversation, hey, here's a link to our calendar, schedule an appointment, make sure that you're filling out this onboarding form. When the onboarding form is filled out prior to the appointment, I'm reviewing the form and I'm reviewing your website for any information about you so that I'm not entering into a conversation uninformed. I'm already aware of the work of your organization. I've already done some preliminary research so that when I do speak with you, I have a better grasp of what may or may not be needed. So all of that is done from a pre-work standpoint. Then there's the conversation that takes place through the consultation call, the complimentary call, where I really want them to then tell me, because I know what I've read, but I want you to tell me your story. What is your specific needs at that particular point? I want you to prioritize those things for me. And then I tell individuals about my background and who I am and our firm and what potential services we can do. After that, they are then sent a follow-up email that tells them the packages that are available to them. If they want to ask any additional questions, they can, and we can answer those. Or if they want to move into contract phase, then please let us know who's the signatory for the contract, making sure that we have the correct legal name for the entity, and then we send them the contract to move forward. And that's kind of the closed loop cycle when it comes to closing our sales.
So you're not making my job easier, Shaniqua, because you're giving me so many things to follow up on, but I like that. So I think what you just alluded to here is gold, and I want to double down on some of it. So especially B2B coaches and consultants who have made peace with the fact that sales cycle is just very long.
Mhm.
They just wait for the clients to eventually sign. They just send a reminder of like, hey, still motivated to do this, or like, hey, have you had any thought about this? Whereas the real magic happens in the follow-up, obviously, but when you nurture the leads. So case studies, testimonials, industry insights, free resources that are relevant to them. This is not only like supposed to happen before the call. Whilst you are between calls or like in that sales cycle, in the red zone, this is actually where it matters the most, because you need to stay top of mind.
Mhm.
You need to make sure that people are reminded that they have something on the grill with you and that they're going to have to make a decision. And the reason they haven't signed yet is because there is still either a perception of risk, but just haven't been unlocked. But it's like everything, right? If I hand you the keys to my $200,000 Ferrari, I'll tell you, find me 5K and it's yours. You're going to find the 5Ks. So it's also about not necessarily pressing some urgency, but being like, hey, the benefits is there. You just need to make a decision. By the way, it's costing you that much not to make a decision. And here is proof of the result that we get. Here are some case studies. Here are some testimonials. Here are some of the things that you can already implement on your own that will bring you some form of results to motivate the people to take the next step and eventually move forward with you. So lead nurture, super, super important. Love that you do this, because in my opinion, it is important. And by the way, you can only do that if you have a proper lead management system, the CRM that Shaniqua just mentioned as well. So have a CRM, track where your leads are at. Talk to me about retention, Shaniqua? Because the way I picture your business is, okay, you're going to come in, you're going to help a non-for-profit or even potentially a for-profit organization secure a government grant. And then that's it. The grant is secured. They have the money. Like, do they still need you? How do you retain? How do you re-engage with the same clients? How do you make sure that one relationship transforms into a bigger relationship with that same person? Do you have such mechanisms in place? Can you walk us through that?
Yes. So most of my clients actually, I do. So let me kind of take a step back with the actual services that we offer. We do grant writing. When it comes to the pillar of grants, we do grant writing, grant management, and compliance. So that's post award after a grant has been received. When it comes to leadership development, we do workforce development training, executive coaching, anything with under that particular umbrella. When it comes to strategic planning, organization development, anything under that umbrella. So depending what the client may be coming to us for, if it's for something when it comes to, let's say, leadership coaching, executive coaching, those generally for a set amount of sessions. And so those can be for an extended time period. And if it's for a specific department, then it may be multiple people within that. So that's kind of a one thing from a contract standpoint. If it's something from a strategic plan or organization development or something like that, those are generally just, hey, these are the one type of projects we need you to do. This is what this is. When it comes to grants, however, they're twofold. One of which is that grants generally are 60 to 90 days before you even hear if you received the grant. So I have it set up where there's a retainer plan for at least 90 days for my clients. For us to be able to see, and then within that time frame, we're producing X amount of grants within that time frame for them. So they enter into it knowing, hey, these are the number of grants I'm receiving. This is what the monthly retainer fee is going to be. At the end of that, then we've either proven ourselves that, hey, we can do this for you. And they want to continue on because, again, most of my clients, if they are having budgets that are over $3 million or over $1 million or whatever it is, there is a funding gap that they have to find. And so they need multiple grants in order to do that. I don't take many ad hoc, where I say one-off grants from a particular client just asking me to write a grant, unless it probably is a government grant. And those generally are really big projects, and they take about 30 to 40 days to complete a government grant. I've done them in faster time span, but that is at a premium rate because it's so much, it's very time consuming to do those. So how I have set up my consulting plan is that if you're looking from a grant standpoint, most likely they're being funneled into a retainer plan. And so that automatically already has us there for a minimum of a 3-month commitment. And then they'll be able to see the ROI on their investment within their 3 months and generally want to continue on from there. Most of my clients, over half of them actually have continued on from there, that we're over a year engagement. That's one part when it comes to grants. The other part when it comes to grants is the actual grant management and compliance standpoint. Once you are awarded a grant, then you have to do the reporting for the grant. I do have clients that say, hey, write this grant, and then I want you to do the reporting for the grant, the management of it, of how we're expending those funds. Those generally are clients or grants that have been some type of government grant, either on the city, local level, or on the federal level. And because there's a number of reporting requirements with those, that goes there. So when a client is working with me, and if we've written a grant for them, if they do then want to say, hey, we've gotten this grant now, we have to manage it, then there are different services that can be offered for the compliance and management aspect of it. And that generally is the length of the entire grant of what has been awarded.
That does make a lot of sense. Shaniqua, you've been kind of flying through this interview, so I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball at you.
Okay.
I don't have the proper analogy, but I'm sure there is something equivalent in football because we're just out of the Super Bowl. What is your number one challenge right now? What's the one thing that once you crack that nut, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
For my business overall or me working with clients?
I mean, either or both, whatever you feel like sharing.
Well, I'll share a new project that I'm working on right now because you mentioned football. Then, the world's football is actually coming to the United States, and it's actually coming to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's one of the cities in Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas will be hosting 9 World Cup matches. And so, from a business standpoint, I think that there is opportunity and growth there. And I have a team that I'm working with because there are ways that businesses need to be able to be ready for FIFA as it comes to the United States, as it comes to North America. And so for me, my biggest challenge right now is just breaking into, I won't say breaking into a new market, but really under letting new potential clients know. And this is probably where the marketing and everything comes in, because this is not direct referral for me, but letting these new potential clients know that, hey, we can help you get ready for FIFA. From an organizational standpoint, we have a consultant that works with us who has worked with Formula One races, who's worked with several stadiums within the Texas, the best Southwest area. Well, let me say best Southwest, southern United States, within stadiums all over. So he can go in and do an assessment. He's had restaurants, and I think the terminology he used was strategic hospitality, I think is the terminology he used, but really going in to be able to assess for restaurants or venues what you need to be able to have individuals that are coming here. We are projected to have 3 to 4 million people coming to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and that's going to be a $1 billion economic impact. And so that those resources are coming in, those people are coming in, but how are we going to be able to best serve them, not only within this area, but within all of the United States? And so for me, my biggest challenge and struggle right now is making sure that potential clients, or even clients don't even recognize that they are a potential client, know that, hey, this is an opportunity that's coming and you think you're prepared, but you're not prepared, because it's not on the same level of the Super Bowl. It's infinitely more bigger, and you have to be able to be at capacity to prepare for it. So that's my number one challenge right now. I bet you didn't expect that one.
It's an interesting one, and I like. So I have a friend of mine who is working in the tech space. I'm glad you said football and not soccer, by the way. So kudos to you.
I'm well traveled, so I know.
This I didn't expect. And he's so smart. He started this tech agency like 2 years ago in the soccer space in Miami, and he's like, yeah, there is the World Cup that comes to the US in 2026, and gazillions of young people will watch this and will want to start football. And I'm like, by then I will be the tech guy for soccer, and people will come to me and I will make lots of money. I was like, smart. So it's a very interesting challenge. And at the end of the day, as B2B business owners, it's demand or supply, and it's always juggling between the two. So here is like, how do we make the most out of the demand that's going to come together with the football World Cup? So yeah, it's a beautiful and cool challenge, and if you solve it, you're gonna have lots of opportunities, Shaniqua. So that sounds like a good one indeed.
Thank you.
If people want to find out more about you, see what you do, get ready for that football World Cup, where should they go?
The first thing I would say was our website, with is rischerconsulting.com. And so that's spelled RISCHER. And then the word consulting, CONSULTING.com. If you go to our website, it will link you to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our LinkedIn page. So that will probably be the easiest way to be able to get in contact. You can go to the contact us form to fill out if you're interested in grant services. But if you're interested in services when it comes to being prepared for the World Cup and FIFA, as soon as you go to the website, there's a pop-up form where you can put your information there. So that the website will be the best way to reach us.
We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Shaniqua, is that you've gained at least new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just added you.
All right. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.
How was